Get pasa to the pack. It is Pack here. In today's video, I'm covering the 8th roster update of NBA 2K23 and all of its major changes. I'm going to do that in today's video. If you like rating updates, please join the pack and subscribe, and let's get it, man. We start out with the Philadelphia 76ers as we always do, and the only major change is Tobias Harris, who goes -1. Tobias has definitely slowed down scoring wise in the last 10 games, I believe only averaging 8 points per game. That's because of Tyrese Maxey's insane, incredible play lately. He's picked up the offensive load, and that's just Tobias Harris going down. For the Milwaukee Bucks, we have Chris Middleton -1. I would argue maybe it should have been more than that. He has been struggling all year, and mostly it was because of injury, but it was about time they gave him a downgrade because he has been playing poorly. -1 for Chris Middleton. Even if he's on a minutes restriction, it still hasn't been great. Brook Lopez goes +1, so now they're really close to being tied as the third best player on the team, which is very odd. Brook Lopez has been an all defensive player all year, arguably defensive player of the year. No wonder he's gone up. Bobby Portis goes -1 as well. Overall, a couple downgrades for the Bucks, but also upgrades, evening out the team, making it a little more accurate. For the Chicago Bulls, no Levine upgrade, which I think is crazy, but you get Vucevic -2 to an 83 overall. Just when you think this team couldn't get worse in terms of ratings, they get hit with a big one like this one. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, we have Donovan Mitchell +1 to a 91 overall. Although Donovan Mitchell's skill set is mostly just scoring, you can't deny how good it's been all year. He deserves to be this high. You also have Jarrett Allen -1. I don't think necessarily Jarrett Allen's been playing poorly, but it's more of Evan Mobley's been looking so good that it makes Jarrett Allen look bad. But that's the situation for the Cavaliers. You also have Ricky Rubio -2 to a 75 overall. Downgrades for the Cavs. For the Boston Celtics, Robert Williams III -1, and deserving of it. Although he's coming back from injury, he's always injured, so it's kind of difficult to give him a rating when he almost never plays. But now that he's playing for the Celtics, although he's doing okay, he does deserve the downgrade that he's gotten. Al Horford +1 back into the 80 overall club, which is always a big thing. It's always important for Al Horford to be around there because he has earned that for the past couple years. For the Los Angeles Clippers, we have Norman Powell -1 out of the 80 overall club. Now that's been because they've added new players and his role has slowed down a little bit in terms of offense, but he's still a decent player for the Clippers, no doubt. Terrence Mann goes +1. He has been playing point guard at the end of games lately for the Clippers because of Russell Westbrook's bad play. It is what it is, but Terrence Mann has been playing that good. Eric Gordon, the pickup for the Clippers, has been very good as well. +1 for him, deserving so. For the Memphis Grizzlies, John Morant -1. I mean, it could be -50 because he's done for the year and part of next year as well. So John Morant -1, but it doesn't even matter. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. -1, now considered the best player on the Grizzlies. So your best player in 86 overall is pretty depressing for the Grizzlies, who are looking like a lock to be a championship contender. It's pretty depressing for them right now, but it is what it is. For the Atlanta Hawks, you have John Collins -1. He has not had the season that we all expected him to have. The Hawks have been struggling all year, and John Collins has not helped them get out of that situation. Definitely a -1 for him. So far this roster update, a lot of downgrades. It's kind of crazy. For the Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo -1. I agree, but I don't know. I think they still to this day don't appreciate defense as much as they should, and that's why I think Bam Adebayo could argue should be higher. But offensively, was doing as good as he was for most of the year. That's all. The only reason he went down, basically. For the Hornets, we have Terry Rozier -2, and then we have Gordon Hayward -1, and that is it for the Hornets. Now, this is important, and I was saying that Gordon Hayward, in my opinion, in the last 10 games has been the best player on the Hornets because, LaMelo Ball's been hurt. They did not want to put him above Terry Rozier, but I do think Gordon Hayward deserved to be at least tied with Terry Rozier. He has been the best player. He's scoring better than anybody on a way better efficiency than anybody on this team. It's just good to see that Gordon Hayward's at least playing well. And the Hornets, if you look at this roster, you have 4 guys in the 80 overall club. If they can get Victor Wembanyama or Wemby, whatever, that's a good pickup for this team, and they would have a pretty decent roster around him. For the Utah Jazz, we're gonna have Kelly Olynyk +1 to a 79 overall. He's actually been scoring a lot more lately, which is always a good thing, and that's why he's gone up for the most part. A big upgrade for the Sacramento Kings, De'Aaron Fox +1, making him tied as the best player on the Kings with Sabonis. Now, this is a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I do think the Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox should be a 90 overall, not an 89. Personal opinion. When they're going to be they're the second team in the West, the best team in the West, they should be a 90 overall club members because they've been that good all year. You also have a +1 for Kevin Huerter. You have a +1 for Harrison Barnes, and you have a +1 for Keegan Murray. Everyone on this team, and I like that Keegan Murray is now considered the 5th best player on the team because I do feel that that is the case for the most part. For the New York Knicks, Julius Randle +1, making him the official best player on the Knicks, and that is the case. Although Jalen Brunson is fantastic, I do think that Julius Randle brings more to the table and more skill set to the team. I do think he's the best player, even if it's just by 1 overall. Emmanuel quickly goes +2 to an 81 overall. This is the first time he enters the 80 overall club in his career. He's been getting a lot of minutes lately because of Jalen Brunson's injury for the last 2 games, and Emmanuel quickly has had very good games in those games. So I'm happy to see that the Knicks have a ton of 80 overall players. It's always a good thing. For the Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron James -1. So the only reason he got a -1 is because he was a 98 overall, and the only reason they gave him that is because he was breaking the scoring record. Now that he's broken it, they realized that LeBron James isn't the best player in the NBA anymore. And now he's tied as the best player in the NBA now with other players like Giannis, Jokic, and them. He's a 97 overall. I think LeBron should be a 96 to be honest with you, but still, he's up there. We have Rui Hachimura -2. I disagree. Personally, I think that this team kind of doesn't know who they are yet because of all the new added players. But Rui Hachimura, I don't think got worse than when they picked them up, so I don't know about this. I disagree with this downgrade. For the Magic, the only important one to talk about is Jalen Suggs -1. Besides that, nothing crazy for the Orlando Magic. For the Mavericks, Kyrie Irving +1, 1000% true. He needed to get that. He's been on an offensive tear. You have Christian Wood, who goes -2. It's a shame how you pick up Kyrie Irving and you would think the rest of the team gets better, but in fact, the rest of the team got worse while Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are playing out of their minds. It's sad, but Christian Wood is just not been doing as good as they thought he was going to do. Tim Hardaway Jr. +1. He's been the only other player that's scoring like offensively, like consistently. Besides that, it's no one else. So of course he goes +1. For the Brooklyn Nets, we have Bridges +2 to an 87 overall. Not only is he the leading scorer on this team by a wide margin, he's also the best defender on this team. Well, you could argue Claxton's right there, so it's up for debate. But Bridges has been on fire ever since he joins the Nets. And then you have Claxton -1, but that's not really that big of a deal. It's a 1 difference. It's not crazy. But you have Cam Thomas -1 as well. I thought he was going to be like a 20-point per game scorer ever since they traded everybody, but he's not getting the role that he thought he was going to get, and he's not playing as good as I think we all thought he was going to play. For the Nuggets, we have Michael Porter Jr. +1. This is massive because when this team was assembled and when it was talked about for like the last couple of like years, Jokic was going to be the best player. Jamal Murray was going to be the second best player, like the point guard that was scoring a lot. And then Michael Porter Jr. was supposed to be that like bucket getter. And in fact, Jokic was never supposed to be the bucket getter compared to these two who they were expected to be the scorers. But, you know, injuries got in the way. And for the most part, Aaron Gordon was the second best player for the Nuggets for the last a year and a half. And obviously that's not an okay thing. That's wrong, right? And so now we're back to where the Nuggets were supposed to be in order to win a championship, and these are the correct ratings that they've gotten. Thomas Bryant -2. Ever since joining the Nuggets, he has not found a role just yet. For the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton +1. He's close to a 90 overall, and you can understand he is probably, you could argue, the best playmaker in basketball right now. There's definitely a conversation to be had there. He's just such a good playmaker that he has earned this rating. And on any other team, if they were winning, he'd be a 90 overall. Miles Turner also goes +1. His scoring has improved while also being one of the best shot blockers in the league, so of course. For the Pelicans, the only change I see is Trey Murphy -1. Besides that, no real changes for the Pelicans whatsoever. For the Pistons, I see Bogdanovich -1. And then Jaden Ivey +2, making Jaden Ivey the 3rd best player on the Pistons when Cade Cunningham returns, right? So this is big because Jaden Ivey is clearly, first of all, enters the 80 overall club for the first time in his career. And there's no surprise there. He was looking really good out of the draft. I'm not surprised he's here. We have Marvin Bagley the 3rd +1. This is the closest he's been to in the 80 overall club ever since the Kings. It's been a while since he's been this high. He's looking okay. Look, he's still young. The Pistons are letting anybody just play to see how good they are, so this is a good place for him right now. And then you have James Wiseman, who goes +2. The role that he's been given is one that can actually play the game, and like they're actually letting him do whatever he wants, which is really important for James Wiseman to grow as a player. This is a good thing for the Pistons. For the Toronto Raptors, we have Pascal Siakam -1 to an 87 overall. Van Vliet -1, Scotty Barnes -1, and OG Anunoby -1. The Raptors, lack of a better word, have been disappointing this year. They have all this talent and have not been able to really consistently win in the East when there's playoff spots up for grabs. It's sad, but they've all earned this downgrade because they've all have poorly performed. Jakob Poeltl goes +1 into the 80 overall club. And now he's in the running for being the second best player on the team now. For the Houston Rockets, we have Alperen Sengun -2, making Jalen Green the best player on the Rockets again. Kevin Porter Jr. goes -1, and then we have Eason +1. A couple changes for the Rockets. They're still just trying to find out who's good and who's not, so nothing crazy here. Kind of same goes for the Spurs. We have Devin Vassell -1, coming back from injury, not a big deal. We have Jeremy Sokan +1. This is a big one because he's our rookie and he's actually been looking very, very good lately. He's actually started to put the ball in the hoop, which is like the biggest issue I had with him, so that's looking good. The Phoenix Suns. Of all these additions, the only thing that was changed is Josh Okogie goes +2, and then TJ Warren -1. So now Josh Okogie is considered the 5th best player on the Suns. And that's the only changes for this team right now. For the Thunder, SGA +1, 94 overall. This is a major, major, major upgrade because I never thought he'd be this good, man. I mean, 94 overall for SGA considers him one of the best players, a top 10 player in the league. You gotta admit that's pretty intense. You have Jalen Williams goes +4, the highest upgraded player in this roster update. He's been averaging 20 points in the last 10 games, so understandably so, he enters the 80 overall club for the first time. You have Anthony Edwards -1, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with, but they decided to do that. And then Naz Reid +1, making him the 5th best player on the team. And even though Naz Reid is very, very good, I do think Jaden McDaniels is clearly the 5th best player because he's, an all defensive player, arguably defensive player of the year. So I don't know about this one. For the Portland Trailblazers, we have Damian Lillard +2 to a 95 overall. And he deserves that. I mean, he's probably the leading scorer in the NBA in the last 10 games with like 38 points a game. He's been fantastic. He's playing as good as he ever has. And then in his prime, he was a 95 overall. So, of course, he's a 95 overall right now. No debate for me there. You also have Cam Reddish, who goes +2. He's getting a much bigger role for the Blazers right now. And he's already a natural born scorer. Like, he's a good scorer. So, he's getting the chance to do that with the Blazers. For the Warriors, we have Dante DiVincenzo goes +1. And then Jonathan Kuminga goes +1 as well. The bench players on the Warriors are getting a little bit of love. And finally, for the Washington Wizards, we are going with DeLon Wright, who goes +2. Can't tell you much about what DeLon's doing right now. The Wizards are kind of like still fighting for a playoff spot, and DeLon Wright's apparently doing a very good job. So there you go. Okay, this is the roster update. A bunch of +1s, +2s, nothing crazy besides Jalen Williams, but it is a roster update that got a lot of downgrades, and I'm happy that 2K stopped being afraid of downgrading people. So that's a good roster update to me. What do you guys think about it? Leave it in the comments below, and if you like this channel, please give it a sub. I'll see you guys next time.